Good afternoon, friends, and many thanks to Professor Janat Shah and the Spandan team for the wonderful organization they have had, and many thanks for your hospitality. You see, listening to the earlier group discussions, I was actually thinking that I shouldn't have been a panelist. It was so wonderful listening to this discussion that I thought that it was better to sit there rather than come up here. Uh, uh, since morning, we've had some very excellent presentations, excellent discussions, and let me have a disclaimer right at the beginning that I am not an academician. I am not even formally trained in HR, though most of my career I have done HR. I shifted from line. So I'm not going to tell you about theories, models. I guess you've already heard and you will hear from my colleagues on the panel about that. I'll give you an applied perspective, the perspective of a practitioner. And when I talk about the perspective of a practitioner, since there are no models, there is no PowerPoint presentation either, it's important that I stick to a few points, what Pallav and Krish described in the morning session as a few teachable points of view. So over 5 minutes, let me share 5 teachable points of view on this topic of leadership development. The first teachable point of view from my side is that of Harry Potter. Now, I guess all of you are familiar with Harry Potter? Yes? Good. So you see, in the way back, the first movie, which came, I don't know, 2001, Harry Potter, or those who have read the book, slightly earlier than that, Harry Potter goes to Hogwarts School of Magic, and there is this sorting ceremony, right? In the sorting ceremony, they sort you into Gryffindor, if you are courageous, Slytherin, if you have certain competencies, Ravenclaw, if you're very intelligent, and Hufflepuff, if you're very hardworking. Now, Harry Potter, when the sorting hat is on Harry Potter's head, the sorting hat sees competencies and capabilities which are very similar to that of Slytherin house. It could make him a great leader, one who would actually weigh power very judiciously. But the sorting hat also sees in Harry Potter's mind a great desire to win Gryffindor, the house that stands for all the courageous things, virtuous things, etc. And finally, it puts him in Gryffindor. Towards the end of the first book, or in the first film, Harry asks Dumbledore, the headmaster, that did the sorting hat actually make a mistake? Am I Gryffindor enough? After certain sets of events. And then Dumbledore replies that, my dear boy, it's not our abilities which make us who we are. It's the set of choices we make which make us who we are. So when we are making leadership development, when you're planning leadership development, the first teachable point of view from a practitioner's perspective is that develop leaders not just for the abilities, but for the choices that you expect them to make. How do we train? How do we equip? How do we find people who will be making the right set of choices which will build the organization for the long term? So that's number one. The second similar teachable point of view, and this is borrowed, I'm quoting from others, right? Many of you may have read the book Build to Last, Jim Collins, James Forrest. In Build to Last, when they have analyzed so many organizations, they say that what differentiates good companies from great companies, what makes it good to great, there are 3 things. All companies have resources, all companies have technology, tangible things can very well be acquired, If you don't have money, there is a PE always standing there, right? So all people can be hired. So it's not resources which actually distinguish companies from good to great. The 3 things are, the first is understanding. The way they understand competition, market, but more importantly, themselves. The way they understand themselves leverage that understanding to create something which the competition cannot, but is relevant to the customer. Right? So that's the first distinguishing point. Understanding. The second is a set of choices that they make based on that understanding. The third is the ability to align all resources behind the choices which have been made. So three things: understanding, making choices, third, the ability to align resources to choices, all resources, running behind the few which are relevant and making yourself world class in them rather than doing several things and filtering your energy in that. So that makes companies from good to great. So when we are developing leaders, this is the second point to remember. Are we developing leaders?